Hello, aligned minds. Welcome back to The Voice Within. Today, we're gonna talk about the cost of being easy to love, the one which is easy to love. This one didn't come from some big moment, it came from something ordinary which happened in my life. But how it usually happens with me is that something happens in my life and I follow the thread, I see what had happened, I look underneath, I try to understand it from different angles. If I reacted in the moment, why did I react in the moment? How could I react better next time? And then when I can name it fully in integrity, it becomes usually podcast episode, something valuable for you to hear and to take it in your life. So this moment that happened in my life, it's nothing ordinary. Like I said, it's just a normal situation with my kid and I'm gonna tell you more about it. But it is something we do without realizing. It is something we do unaware completely, making ourselves easy to love, more digestible, more acceptable. And behind it, there is a quite big cost for us. So a few days ago, I had agreement with my son. An agreement was to don't wake me up early in the morning. This is something that I was teaching him for a very long time, teaching him his morning routine, teaching him how to do it by himself, teaching him how to prepare basic breakfast for himself. So on the weekends when I want to rest, he's completely capable of executing these things without me. So that night I told him that I want to rest a little bit longer in the morning, and usually for me that's maybe 20-30 minutes after him that I will get up because I'm not such a big sleeper. But that 20-30 minutes mean world to me. After all of the years of waking up in the morning for the breastfeeding, for school, we all moms know what is the cost of motherhood. To be honest, it's a mental load, it's physical load. There is a lot of things, and then when we finally reach the point where our children are completely capable of doing something independently and they don't do it, it can bring quite discomfort in us. So I ask him to leave me sleep next day because there is no school. We run together through the morning routine, what he's supposed to do in the morning, what he's supposed to finish until mama wakes up. An agreement was, once I wake up, I will get ready and we will go to have breakfast together somewhere outside on the sun. But in the morning he came straight from the bed, skipping everything. He climbed up into my bed for the cuddles. And usually he does this morning routine in the morning when he wants to do it, but that morning he decided that he just doesn't want to do it, that he wants to cuddle, and he decided to override agreement, to override my need basically. And it was not something that was rude, neither it was wrong, but he broke agreement. We had agreement, we had a deal, how we're gonna execute the next morning in order to respect everybody's needs. And he knows once I wake up, I will call him in my bed to cuddle. Like I said, it's just 15, 20, 30 minutes the most that I will stay asleep, and he completely is capable of respecting that. And from this perspective, it can look, why such a drama? The kid just came to your bed for cuddles. Why are you so harsh? Why are you so strict? Even the voice inside of myself while I'm saying this is saying, don't share this with the world, they shouldn't hear this, that you are so strict. But honestly, when I look into myself and in my voice and my need that he override, it's not because what he did, it's because how quickly I abandoned myself to stay soft. It's how quickly I used to choose in my life to abandon my need for somebody else. And this is basically how does it starts. It starts with you think it's small, you think it's just love. But the message underneath is you erase yourself for the love. You are easier to love when you don't need that much. So that morning when he woke me up, I was not angry, neither I was rude, neither I was shouting. I got up, I finished everything what I supposed to finish, my own morning routine. And I sat with him and I talked to him. And I explained him that he didn't respect the agreement we had. And right now, I don't feel like going for the breakfast. I don't feel like I want that type of connection right now because I feel that he didn't respect my need. Why is this important? Why is it important to bring the consequences of children behavior if we're talking right now about children, about motherhood? Because usually we move in a place where we teach our children that their needs are important. We teach them to honor their emotions, to honor their connection inside, to be present in their body, to don't allow anybody to behave with them in the way that it doesn't respect their integrity. This is the holy grail of modern parenting, teaching the children to hear themselves, something which I think nobody teach us when we were small. But in all of that, what I have noticed is that we're missing one important part, and that is respecting other people's need, respecting other people's emotion, not in the way of betraying themselves and pleasing others to get love, but in a way of truthfully respecting what another person needs in the moment. And I'm teaching this my son not just through my own example that he doesn't wake me up in the morning. I'm teaching him in a way of how he behaves towards our pet, our cat. When she sleeps, I don't allow him to wake her up. Why? Because even if she is animal, she has needs. And it's a perfect moment for him to learn what does it mean to respect somebody else's need. That you cannot override it for yourself. That you cannot step on somebody else's boundaries just so you would get what you want. And this, I think, it's very crucial point in teaching our children to live in dignity. But before we can teach them that, we have to model it ourselves. And that often comes with discomfort. Why? Because we are not anymore the one who is easy to love. And we learn to be easy to love very young. When you think about it, the women around us who needed less, they were more praised. The women around us who were suffering more, they were praised. The one who kind of got it out in an easier way, they were difficult one, they were selfish one. There is even hidden story behind those mothers who delivered the baby through the C-section and natural birth. It's labeled that those who went on the C-section, they really didn't even had the birth because they didn't suffer. The birth itself, that sacred moment of bringing new life to this world, it's worth of the praise only if she suffered a lot. But why do we continuously praise sacrifice? Why we continuously praise suffering? Because we learned very young by observing the women in our surroundings that those who needed less, they were more appreciated, more praised, and more valuable in society, easier to love because they didn't demand a lot. And it's not that we don't have needs, we have them. That's why we feel so resentment because our needs are not met. Is that somewhere our body decides that we are not safe to express those needs. That if we express them, that we're not gonna be loved. So what do? We give more, we soften more, we explain more, just to make sure that we are not rejected. But underneath all of it, it's one single truth. I want to feel loved without having to disappear to deserve it. I want to feel loved without have to abandon myself, betray myself, my needs and everything what my body, my physique needs in order to be loved. And how does this shows up in everyday scenarios? What is the real cost across our roles, our rooms which we play in our life? In motherhood, we skip meals, we skip rest. We silent, we tone our voice down so we are more digestible. We call it love, but eventually this is what wears us out. This is what brings us to the burnout. In marriage, it could come like when we express ourselves, we make a question instead of statement, hoping that somebody will give us approval for our choice. It could be like over-explaining in a way like we are asking for permission to act, not making the full statement of what we're gonna do. In the family system, it could be that we say yes again and again and again, because if we say no, we are villain. If in any way we make somebody else uncomfortable with that no, that means what? That we are not easy to be loved. And with our children, with our kids, it's when we say yes, when we actually mean no, then we resent them. But actually, our kids, they are just reading the script we are still following. They are reading the same pattern that we are actually doing. And when this situation with my son happened in the morning, it was not just about him wake me up. It was not just about those 30 minutes that I wanted to lay down in a bed. It's about what I have realized in that moment. And here is what hit me the most and why I decided to write this, to talk in this podcast episode about this. It's the fact that I am not just doing this to myself. I am literally showing to my son how to do it too. Let me explain you better. Whenever we silence our need for another person in order to feel loved, to be easy to love, digestible one, we teach our children to do the same thing. We're actually modeling them the exactly same thing we are doing. Then, when someone you love has a need, you silence your own need for that person. And suddenly, that being easy to love means being easy to access, easy to reach, easy to use. And by modeling exactly same behavior that somebody else modeled to us, by modeling that same behavior to our children one day they grow up and suddenly they are resentful, they are exhausted, they are unsure why no one sees them. And they do exactly same thing to their own children or partner or themselves. This is the real cycle, not just overgiving, but training the next generation, the next person to do the same, to be easy to love, to be more digestible, more acceptable. How? By abandoning your own need for another person continuously through your life. And when you look into it, it's not just about being exhausted. It's about what your child learns by watching you abandoning yourself. What your child learns by watching you, how you model him to abandon your own need in order to be loved. And I used to think when I became mom that the love meant giving, but now I see it meant modeling. I reparent myself in order so I can reparent my own child. I cannot parent my child if I don't reparent myself, if I don't start modeling him exactly behavior which I want to see in my child. Whenever I meet my own need without guilt, I show to my child how to honor his needs without fear. And that's not rejection, that's the love without performance. And this is where the cycles ends. The moment in which you decide that your needs matter and you set the boundaries to your child with dignity, the way I set the boundaries to my son when I said, I don't feel right now going for breakfast after you override our agreement and my need. I didn't shout, I didn't scream, I didn't withdraw my love, but I showed him that there is a real consequences, emotional cost on another person in his behavior. That as much as he has to be mindful about his own needs, he has to be mindful about what his behavior is costing and creating in another person. This is when I say we are responsible for our action and our intention, but we are not responsible for how other person receive it. This is not our part of the cake. And when we take all of this story in a kind of flipped way, and we think about it, how often we feel resentful towards other people, towards our husband, partner, children, everybody, because we feel exhausted, while in the background, what is happening that we are not meeting our own needs. And this is kind of very clear. This is what industry is telling us. But what nobody is telling us, that we are modeling exactly same behavior in our children. We are teaching them, training them for the cycles to continue. And only way the cycle can be broken is when you decide that you're gonna break it, that you'll be the one who will stand in dignity, respect your own needs and respect the needs of others. This is when you start modeling them something completely different. So this podcast episode, it's not about you being tired, and it's not about 1, 2, 3 steps, how you get rid of the burnout or how you do some fancy self-care with the mask on a face. This is the real talk. This is the talk about what your child absorbs every time you put yourself last. It's about the lessons they learn, not from your words, but from you abandoning yourself. Because every time you meet your own needs without guilt, you teach your child that the love doesn't have to come with sacrifice. You teach your child that honoring yourself isn't selfish, it's stable, it's dignity. You teach your child that the boundaries don't push people away, They teach people how to stay in dignity, and maybe that's the most loving thing you could ever model to your child. That would be it for this podcast episode. Until the next Sunday and next insights and breakthrough coming from our life, I wish you blessed and loved rest of the day. Enjoy. Bye.